Thank you so much for still being with us on Wednesday's edition of Morning at NTV. I know many of you are nursing fatigue, courtesy of the Uganda Mother's Day celebrations, but nevertheless, we must continue on and be able to pace up with life. Now, in our Kickstarter this morning, tackling substance use in schools is going to be our conversation for the day. Now, of course, understanding the new education guidelines in Uganda. As schools across Uganda reopen following the school holiday, we do have students as well as educators that are returning to the familiar spaces. Of course, there is increasingly complex challenges that are coming through the education sector. Among these, substance use in educational institutions. NTV has been doing a series of substance use in schools, especially in higher levels of education. And we've been asking ourselves, why is this on the increase? Why is it even in the open these days more than it was those days? Well, we'll be getting to the answers of that. But also, there's other growing concerns threatening not only academic progress, but also mental health and, of course, the well-being of staff and learners. Now, there's also other issues that are cropping up in the education sector. Ministry of Education having issued new guidelines aimed at reforming various aspects of the education system, from curriculum change to grading systems and, of course, school management protocols. All this, we're going to have a better spectrum of them with Dr. Lawrence Muganga, Vice Chancellor of Victoria University. Good morning to you, Doctor.
Very good morning, and thank you for having me around, and to the viewers, thank you for tuning in.
All right. Mr. Kangave, you're also most welcome, a seasoned educationist.
Thank you very much. Good morning, dear viewers, and thank you for hosting me today.
It's a pleasure to have you. I think let's start from a general picture from both of you where you are seated. You're both advocates of a better education system that can be inclusive, especially of technological advancements. And where do we stand on that bar? I'll start with you, Doctor.
I'm always a very hopeful person. So, Priscilla, you see the world we live in, and I'm sure even viewers see the same. I know that there was a time when you mentioned mobile money, everyone wanted to run away and they could look at you as a scammer, right? But today, we can barely actually survive without it, right? So, the emergence of a mobile phone could actually qualify you to be a village witch doctor. If you told people, come here and speak on this piece of gadget, they would tell you, no, you have brought some kind of dark or black magic on our village. So look at where we are. So I'm very optimistic and I'm very hopeful that we are going to move in this desired direction. Of course, we are behind. Okay, we are very, very behind. While others are talking about significant investments, historical kind of magnitude into things like AI, and other emerging technologies. For us, we don't even have a framework that is really guiding us on how to use it. We don't have a policy. We don't have guidelines. So, so we are behind. But again, we are who we are. So I am sure at some point we are going to wake up and we are going to move forward. And once we start moving, we will keep pushing for that.
Isn't that absurd though? Because you're still speaking futuristically. For as long as the frameworks and policies don't exist, then that is cast in dust, not even in stone.
It's really, really unfortunate that we are speaking about this futuristically, yet the future we are talking about is already here.
It is yesterday.
Right? It is yesterday. People are already living this future. So we are even still debating whether we are supposed to use this, if we are not supposed to use this, but other people have overcome that and are vigorously using what we are still debating. So, but again, we have to take it in our own context, our own culture setup and everything, and understand this. And I understand it that grappling with these new things is going to be really, really there, but we don't have to really delay. Otherwise, we are going to keep ourselves in indefinite kind of poverty. We may not be here, but our grandchildren will be here, and they will ask us, like, really, what did these old men and women do to our country?
All right. Doctors' grandchildren are not here. I don't think many of our grandchildren will be in this country at that point in time. Mr. Kangave, what are your 2 cents on the matter?
Yeah, by the way, the advancement of technology is a must as of today, because currently we are living in the digital world. In this digital global world, everybody must be inclusive. So in this, as we are having education, we are having so many schools that are very ignorant about this digital environment. And it's high time we take on that in two perspectives. One, we either take it on and we proceed with the world, because we're in the 21st century generation. But majority of us, most especially the teachers, we are living in the 20th century world. So we cannot teach, we cannot have learners in the 21st century when we're in the 20th century. We must upgrade to that level. And we have online schools, we have those platforms, we have social media platforms. We must be part of them if we are to push our education to another level.
Okay. What are some of the challenges that educationists are facing right now amidst the opportunities that we have?
Oh, there are so many challenges. Probably maybe in line with the technology, most of the educationists are very ignorant. They don't know how to use these gadgets because they've never interacted with them. They are just seeing them for the first time, and they have not got courses or refresher courses to train them about the same. Secondly, the environment in which we are living. You'll find a good mobile phone goes for above 600,000 to millions of money. But when you look at the teacher, deep in the village, is earning 100,000 shillings. So with your 100,000 shillings, you need to spare your 6 months' salary. No food, no medicine, no what, so that you get that mobile phone. It's quite challenging. Thirdly is the funding from the government. There's one government I saw, that's the government of Tanzania. Every teacher that qualifies is given a tablet that is having the whole curriculum, that is having everything.
Here the tablets stopped with MPs, and we also don't take
exactly, and actually I don't know whether they are using them as well. So this should be, our government should come in, if we are really to embrace the technology, the government should come in either to give these people these gadgets, maybe on a loan basis, or maybe to provide them, because the other ones are not for the individuals, but when you enter, you are put into the system, you are given the gadgets. When you're leaving, then you're leaving the gadgets around. Of recent, we had the census activity, the national population census. Those gadgets were there, they were used, but I don't know as of now, what are they doing? Can't they be supplied to different schools so that schools begin using such? That's my proposal.
So just to chip in, Priscilla, you ask a very, very good question. But I also want us to be honest when we are really looking at these challenges. Now, you still have an education system from the lowest to the apex, okay? You don't need to look very far. Just look at how we do things. At some point, a student is going to sit an exam, okay? The way you have those papers in front of you, and you encounter a question, discuss how NTV should really reach Africa, okay? And then there are very good instructions. You are not allowed to look on your right. There is Mr. Kangave. You're not allowed. On the left, there's say Arafat. You're not allowed to look at that. But they are asking you to discuss. So where in the world, in the dictionary or anywhere, where a human being is supposed to discuss alone? You discuss with your spirit and soul. You know, so, but that's not real. So now you begin to understand the challenge we are having. Why I brought that is that what we are doing does not, it doesn't look like real life that we are living. So the earlier we lifted up ourselves in terms of education and started not even mimicking, because mimicking, again, you're mimicking, but try to live like who we are as a people. But again, like Kangave talked about something very, very important. In this day and age, where there is everyone has a phone. If you don't have one, you have two, you have three. Why? Because
in Kampala.
Yeah, in Kampala. But remember, if you look at all the telcos.
Actually, those of you who have two phones, you're called dons.
Yes, if you look at all the telcos, you realize that we have mobile phone users. They're almost like closer to 30 million people. Okay, those who have really subscribed to different SIM cards, almost there. And then those people who are trying to use internet are about like 26 million. That's a big number, okay? That's a big number. So now the onus is on us to understand that you ask yourselves a few things, that while you have this phone, it could be owned by Apple, manufactured by Apple or Samsung or Google, okay? And you may order things while you are in Kampala here from different apps, Amazon, whatever, all those things, right? Internet is provided by another particular company. So if you look at those things, all those people who own these companies, their worth, their wealth, the company itself, it is bigger than Africa's GDP combined. So that means if one company can be better off than the African economy combined, then that means technology is something that we need to pay attention to. Now, what do you do as a country? Very, very quickly. He talked about something very good. Is it so really unrealistic and so hard to adopt a one gadget, one child policy in this country?
It is.
It is. Go to Namamve here, go to Namunkekera, where these factories set up one. We may not manufacture the pieces, but we can assemble them. Before you know, the cost of production and the cost of that very tablet is talking about.
There's actually a Chinese firm that is assembling phones.
Yes. Now assemble tablets or laptops. Before you know, because you are hinging into massification. Okay, like you're producing in huge numbers. You need like 4 million gadgets for our students in this country. There are not so many, not even 4 million. So you realize that the cost of selling that, or manufacturing that, or giving it to, putting it in the hands of a child is only like 10 to 20,000 Ugandan shillings. And now you start looking at how does connectivity go to the last person where we don't expect them to have internet, okay? And now that's when you call in now different other providers, different from what we have, because what we have today, they rely on optic fiber to move, you dig like those trenches.
Yeah, but even then they have partnered now that if they found one network already did the digging, they just plug onto that network. Yes,
but there are areas they will find it hard to do it, to even have a partner who has dug some trench to use. But there are other technologies like Starlink technology that has satellites. They simply position that satellite and the entire country, we are lit. We have all the internet we need, high-speed internet. So now, you remember the country is 70% younger in terms of demographics. 70% of our population is between 0 to 34 years. Now, the most important people that can learn how to use technology are the young people. So you're going to have a nation, a country that is actually servicing the entire world because we are digitally competent, we have those proficiencies. US will need us, China will need us, America, like Canada, Europe will need us. They have older people. We have young people who will understand technology, like use it as if they're speaking the very language. So we are depriving ourselves of something that is precious.
All right, so it's until the census that we got to the truth and the realities of the population demographics. So we have 10 years literally until the next census to be able to then assess what interventions, what programs have been initiated or brought about by government in order to then attend to that demography. But as that is the case, what are the current implications that we are facing? Should we stay in this very same status quo as far as the education system is concerned, Mr. Mudi, between now and the next 9 years? If we stay in this very same position, what are going to be the implications in the cost of education? What are going to be the implications on equity of education?
First of all, we must understand our education system. Actually, our education system needs overhauling. Why? We are doing what we call rote learning. Like we are learning to cram. We are just learning things we don't understand. There are two things. There is the ideal and the reality. On papers, we have the ideal education system we would desire to have. But in reality, the education system we are having is not that good. Why? When you look at the productive age, I've always told people, why is Uganda still poor and behind and all that? The most productive age is the teens age and the early youthful age. I can say between 13 and around 28. That is that's when somebody is very productive. And this is the age when most of our students are in school. So in school, they are there just to sit in the classroom, receive information without doing anything. And that one keeps us far, far behind. I was studying the education system of China, that a school actually is a workshop. A child at the primary 3 level is able to make something. Let it be technology, let it maybe in terms of phones, in terms of computers, in terms of bicycles. It's like the school is a workshop. Is a factory. So as this child is learning, is producing something that is adding to the economy of the country. Today, a child in Uganda learns from primary 1 to primary 7 when this child knows nothing. Goes to senior 1 up to senior 6 when this child knows nothing. This child actually goes to the university, this student goes to the university and graduates when this student knows nothing. Not until this person comes to the field. Now in the field, you begin learning on the job. That's one effect. But effect number 2, I can say in Uganda, if I'm not going political, but I can say we are running the 95-5 theory, I can call it that one, whereby 95% of the population contributes 5% to the economy. And the 5% of the population contributes 95% to the economy. What brings about this? It is still the same, the 95-5 rule, that when you look at the resources within our country, 95% of the resources are owned by 5% people. And when you look at the 5% of the resources in our country are owned by the 95. So the 95 owning the 5% of the resources, even if you do what, we shall remain in absolute poverty. But secondly, our education system, I would wish to urge the Ministry of Education. For example, let me give you the teacher policy. I'm quoting one thing, that the minimum qualification of a teacher is a bachelor's degree. Which is okay. But really, a teacher of nursery, our necessity now, is it a bachelor's degree at this level? Yes, we shall reach there. But a teacher of nursery who cannot operate something, maybe, let me buy a leaf from doctor's language, the animation. Like you're teaching children, you're teaching them about apples, like the animations, you put these cards, so that these children see them digitally and in their real life. You want this person to own a bachelor's degree as the first thing. Is that what we really need? Yes, we may need it in the near future, but as of now, we don't need that one. Which
near future is also, you know, a little bit tilting towards the skill-based population than, you know, degree-based population.
Yeah, and I would like to challenge that. Where did we benchmark this?
Yeah.
If I may chip in a little bit on that, let's be fair to the system itself. Every educator, I've been fortunate to really visit almost like 52 education systems around the world. And these countries wish themselves the best okay? And the number one precious asset that a country has is its own human capital to begin with. And to develop that human capital, you need people who who are conversant and competent to develop this human capital. So I really, if you go to, if you asked where they have really benchmarks, if you look at Finland, actually they are pushing, Finland, Sweden, they are pushing for a master's degree at all levels. Okay, they give you some years to transition yourself to, as long as you are an educator, but they also value a teacher. A teacher may be even earning better money than a minister, almost like a prime minister, or even better, okay, in those countries. So yes, a degree, to me, it's okay. Remember the young child, they are in their most important formation years. They need someone who, and we talk about now, we are talking about drug abuse, we are talking about everything. You need a teacher who even has psychological first aid, understanding. Yeah. You need someone who knows how to really develop a child, moving them from this level to this level, and prepare them for the world that is not even, sometimes is harsh, okay? So having a degree that is that makes you competent, okay, not just a degree, okay, bachelor's degree. So I still think the requirement to have a degree is very, very necessary. But the ministry can transition us there, all right? But the requirement to have it is very good. Now, the other thing, Priscilla, that I wanted to really also say, yes, we are doing badly, okay? But I am also beginning to see signs that things are beginning to, when you see the recent white paper by Honorable Manyamshega, right, which I have seen in the new guidelines that the ministry is issuing. They are saying that now we are transitioning ourselves to never administering a national exam called PLE. That is amazing. Even hearing that before they are even implementing it, do you know how much anxiety, how much damage that exam has caused to a Ugandan child? Okay, how much it has classified them as a failure at 11, 12, 13 years. So that is wasting a human capital because of something called a national exam. So when we start speaking that language, that moving on, we are doing away with that, we must give them credit. So
stay right there. Let's talk about the newly introduced guidelines by the Ministry of Education and Sports and how they're going to actually, change the landscape of education.
Yeah, but do you realize I am one person that when you take what I say at the face of it, you may think maybe I am radical on the things I ask for. If you look at these changes that are being introduced, the things that were beginning to show up in our education, in our schools, you don't see them anywhere in the world. And you realize, Mr. Kangave was telling us how you see the 95% depending on the 5%. That's true in this country. But we were even making it worse. And then you start coming to school and then flying helicopters, your kids, whichever event they're having, you're bringing Lamborghinis like in schools. Even when you are going to sell a piece of land that this child will need after school, just to show that also my child does exist, okay? Those things are not normal. Those things are actually... Now, do you know what the message it sends to a child whose parents can't afford that? Eventually, they realize that I am in the wrong place. I am not worth a living.
My parents don't love me.
My parents don't love me. How could they even fail to buy me a suit?
5 million
buy me a suit, a nice shoe. Before you know, this child has taken, God forbid, has taken his or her life. This child has really descended into using drugs because they want to stay what? A little bit like not feeling that kind of isolation. They want to belong.
Created class.
So these things, I think think they are good for me if you ask me, but I pray that the ministry comes down hard to implement them, because a school is supposed to be something where a child is going to develop. Okay, and again, and you have to factor that into a particular future. The things you do in this school, do you think this child will have them when they leave that school? All of us have gone to school.
Is that the life they'll be guaranteed?
You may have gone. You may have gone to Budo. You may have gone to Namagunga. I may have gone to St. Charles Rwanga, Kasasa, or Mende Kalema. But here we are. All right, life becomes an equalizer. So you start looking at your chopper, and you can't see the chopper.
You can't park it anywhere in this country.
Thank you very much. Yeah. You'll start looking at those suits, and when you wear them, but you have a khaki envelope, you're looking for a job, and you are not finding that job. So I really applaud the minister for having done that, but implementation should really be
all right. Mr. Mudi, what are some of those key components that you feel are being addressed with the new guidelines by the ministry?
Thank you very much. To be very honest, this has been long overdue. Because when you make a summary of these new guidelines, they target like 5 key areas. Area number 1 is about the prom parties that have been moving around.
But prom parties, let's just stay right there. Prom parties have even brought to adult pressure.
Exactly.
But you're thinking, if a child is dressing like this and doing all these things as a child, surely, Naruga, what are you doing?
Exactly. Do you remember a situation where parents were in the race to carry money as flowers?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Meanwhile, the kids at home don't even have food. Those who remain at home don't even have food to eat. Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's very okay. You know. So these prom parties, at least they've been regulated by these new guidelines. How?
Okay, again, let me just...
Yeah, because
we had prom parties in our times, and they were never about pop.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, like...
So where did it change?
Where did it change? Like I've told you, this digital world, every school wants to prove to other schools that I'm the best.
Right.
For example, personally, I went to, I can say, a third world school. It was called the Kabohe Secondary School, those who know, in Western Uganda. But, yeah, we had our parties, normal parties. They still have parties. But today you see a party and it's beyond even the students' party. It is even beyond the wedding party.
Thank you very much. Slits have become slits.
Yes. Yeah. So one of the guidelines, at least, is putting those prom parties to order in terms of dressing, in terms of the luxurious way of doing it, in terms of organization, because at least if you have to go outside the school, then you have to get permission. If you're to dress decently, mini skirts, those tight clothes, probably those see-through clothes are not allowed. The coupling, actually, students have been studying and learning to reach that day.
True.
Correct.
So that on that day, I have that somebody.
You know, this is second term, and it's the term for mocks, you know, for the candidates. But guess what? At the beginning of the term, all their entire attention is about the prom. And yet, within 3 to 4 weeks, they will have to sit down for a mock exam.
Exactly. So at least if these regulations come about that, it is okay. So
and the parents that are affected, those who were who felt that that's the best way to really nurture your child, by throwing them all those things. You may be there or you may not be there, but that's not the right way, because life is different. Okay, life is totally, and the world is going to welcome these kids.
Yeah, but you see, Doctor, the parents are torn between a rock and a hard place. Why? Because
competition.
There's competition, but also they want, with what they're seeing around, they want to make sure that their child gets to fit into the 5 that you were talking about at that particular point of time. There's a parent who, of course, they have to fend for the dress code, which can be now, it's very expensive nowadays. And then thereafter they have to fend Smanya for after party. Now this year I've been hearing things of after party. Then thereafter they have to fend for prom date gifts.
Yes.
And these gifts, a parent I know had to spend about 400,000 shillings on just the gifts.
Let me tell you, I have very, very good advice. They may find it good, or those who care. I am a parent too, and I care about my children. Okay, but if you really care about your child, maybe stay with them at home. Okay, send them to a nearby secondary school or primary school. Let them come home. I know it is very difficult to stay with the child at home. Yes, but let me tell you, the results you will have, they are incredible. Why? They are going to learn. If you're going to wedding parties, you go with them. You're going to church, you go with them. They are going to learn human behavior. And then this money you've been saving, spending to these proms, abnormal kind of proms. You had normal ones, you had normal ones, I had normal ones. Abnormal, save that money, pay 700, 500,000 for fees. This other money, put it on this child's account. For the next 16 years they are in the education system, you will have actually done this child an amazing favor. If they have been learning everything from you, they are looking at you as the role model, you the mom, the father, plus this saving you have put aside, it gives them a head start in life. Not the other one that they will look back when they grow up and say, why did my father, my mother do that? But I understand, you don't want to hurt your child. You think you don't want to hurt your child.
And that's a conversation for another day, Doctor.
Yes.
We need to have a conversation about the parenting of this day and era.
Exactly.
But Mr. Mudi, you're still going on.
Yeah, like I was talking about the proms, I think, that guideline is very okay. The second area that was at least regulated is about the elections. I've personally witnessed a nursery kid contesting and then brings like 5 musicians. You see, this musician comes to perform, the other musician, and all this is done by parents. So I can say the biggest challenge we are having today, as far as all those things are concerned, are parents.
No, okay, let's talk about parents, but I think for me where I'm seated, the custodians are the educationists, the owners of this institution. Because these parents are going to come from outside to bring in the musicians. Where are they going to pass? Who's giving them the access?
Mr. Kangave,
so you can't tell me that a parent is bigger than the institution.
It comes back to when a school says, I don't charge school fees. Okay, the students will still enjoy, and the parents will enjoy that. They'll bring the student, okay, because now it is fees free. Okay, every rule you give in a school, the parents must do what? Abide by that. So I really agree with you. Like I think there was some laxity somewhere by the inspectors of these schools, the education system. These were not supposed to be things that could be welcomed into our schools. We have been having those posters. And as I talk, at least these regulations have banned all of that. Like it should be a normal campaign. Come, register, contest, campaign, the normal campaigning. But actually, this has been breeding corruption at the very lowest level. To the extent that even parents have been bribing teachers. I'm not telling you with evidence. Like my child, it is either my child or it's my child. Or no one.
You understand? So it's like, teacher, how much do you need? The teacher tells you something like 1 million, your child will go through. And this teacher is the chairperson Electoral Commission. And it's like, tries to put, and we have been having that.
So it's about wrong results.
Automatically. We've been having, so that one at least was regulated. Visitation days is another area. Most of you who have been going to visitation days at schools, it has been like always a family party. Or a family reunion. You find every corner of the school, you find the other family seated in the compound, all classrooms are occupied. They are bringing all sorts of food. They bring the cave. They bring all kinds of food.
They don't bring food. These days, actually, schools are also very lucrative.
Yes.
They tell you, come visit, but they have stationed food you buy from the school.
Yes, they have put the service provider. So there are two things. Some have been doing that. They put the service provider to do that. Others have been bringing like that expensive kind of food. So at least the ministry has banned that as well. It's like no bringing food and no preparation of food by those service providers. If it is a VD is part of the days within your school. So if the school feels like maybe giving them an extra meal or maybe a special meal, that would be. Then maybe the most important one is about the nursery schools. Yeah, we've been having the nursery kids, kindergarten kids, who have been coming to school as early as 6, and they leave the school as late as 6. So the regulation is the starting time should be 7:30, and the ending time should be 1/2 midday. I think that regulation is very, very
Again, which things, these things primarily existed. There's a custodian somewhere who dropped the ball. But we are out of time.
The privatization of education actually destroyed each and everything, because we are in the competitive world. We are in all sorts of
Briefly, let's talk about substance use in schools, especially higher education centers. We have seen that on the increase, and it's now out there in the public. You know, used to pass it, and now it is over the desk. Dr. Muganga, how are you managing this situation for Victoria?
It is really, really unfortunate that this is happening. Fortunately, as a university, Victoria University, we haven't encountered that as I'm the Vice Chancellor, so I sit in so many committees of the university. That is not something that has come up in our university yet, and I'm saying yet because we live with human beings. You don't know what comes up tomorrow, but we are also very, very strict with our internal policies that are really guiding these students. But looking at, again, there are things we need to pay attention to. The way these students are educated, sometimes it leaves a lot to be desired, and it is going to drive them into, let's be honest with ourselves before we even condemn these young people and then come up with a solution. Viewers or Priscilla here, when you spend a sleepless night, 1 or 2, and you are supposed to show up to work, there are times when you're going to grab an energy drink, okay? And no one is going to ask you, why are you taking it? But we know, a few years down the road, it is very detrimental to your health. But we do it anyway, just because we need to stay sober. Now, you have a system that is really exam-oriented. I'm just taking that angle. And it is, this exam begs this student to, for their lives, they have to burn the midnight candle. Monday to Friday, they have to stay awake.
Every 2 weeks, tests.
Yes, tests and final exam, tests and final exam. And this person, for them to cope, they have to, someone is going to tell them, you need to stay awake. Yes, here is something. And then they're going to take it.
All right, so what are some of the solutions you'd share with your fellow educationists?
Again, like you see how the lower secondary has introduced the competence-based education model. I think even in universities, we need to embrace something like that, and the ministry is calling us, is really asking us to really embrace that. How does it help? This gives us an opportunity to offer continuous assessment. In other words, people are going to do projects, they're going to do presentations. There's not too much pressure.
They're learning at their pace.
They are learning at their pace, and they are collaborating. There's nothing like competition here. Okay? And I have to remember everything. So that is going to really help us.
Allow us to pick up this conversation on another given day. But Mr. Mudi and Dr. Muganga, thank you so much for your submissions. And I trust that you've been able to have a take home from this Kickstarter. We'll take a short breather. We'll return shortly with more conversations. Do stay with us.